This is really a fun show. You guys,
Thank you
this
so
is gonna be
much.
viral. Yeah, because it's like Subway takes, but vulnerable.
Subway takes but vulnerable. Can we save that, please?
This is Engagement Party. Welcome back. I'm Audie Cornish.
I'm Ari Shapiro, and we have a very special episode for you today.
We are talking to Eddie Huang. He is a chef. He is a writer of both memoirs and apparently now novels.
Yeah, he's got his first novel out. It's called Come Undone. It is a very messy portrait of a man-child. I don't mean the portrait is messy. I mean the man-child is messy. And that man's search for love. And he has said it is kind of autobiographical, so we're going to talk to him about that.
And if you don't know Eddie, he's very big in like chef and food culture and also kind of cool guy culture. But he's best known at one point for being the sort of story and inspiration behind the hit sitcom Fresh Off the Boat, which was about Taiwanese and Chinese immigrants in America. And ever since then, he's been on this very kind of public journey about both his heritage and like who he is as a person.
So here's our conversation with the one and only Eddie Huang.
One of the things that I'm excited about is I interviewed you. You're not supposed to remember this, but a million years ago when I was on NPR, it was 2016. It was a different time. It was before the pandemic, which I know you went through the pandemic kind of restaurant troubles. It was many books ago for you. And at the time, we were talking about a book that you wrote, which was nonfiction. I think it was called Double Cup.
Yeah,
And
no,
the
I remember.
premise-
Yeah,
You do?
Yeah,
Wait, do you
yeah, yeah.
actually remember? You
Yeah, I
don't have to
do.
be nice to me.
No, I was in a, I believe I was in a studio in New York for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the time, I think I introduced to the audience to you, like, you may have heard of Fresh Off the Boat. It's a sitcom. And now he's back with a book about heritage and family.
Mhm.
And that was the snapshot of where you were in your life at that time. Where are you now? Give me the snapshot now.
Well, I'm back in New York. I love it. I'm back in the kitchen, and I'm now writing novels. It's been really nice to write fiction. I think the biggest part is that I'm married and I'm a father. That has changed me for the better and the most, and probably the thing I needed to do.
Needed, because why?
Well, I think I was like, they call it Peter Pan syndrome. I don't think it was that I like wanted to be like playing forever. I really was um a bit emotionally unavailable, not the most aware of it, but because of my childhood and previous relationships, I was very scared of being hurt. So I think people who are scared of being hurt or feel like love is conditional based on like
Mm-hmm.
who you are and what you can
Yeah.
do, you're unwittingly emotionally unavailable. So that's kind of where I was at.
The way you're talking now is fascinating because reading the book and looking at the Goodreads reviews of the book, where people are like, this guy's a dirtbag.
Yeah.
I can't stand this character. And I immediately was like, first of all, why is Eddie reposting these on his socials? Like, were you a dirtbag? Were you as
Because
bad?
you said even though it's a novel, it's very
It's
autobiographical.
a thinly veiled
Yeah.
novel, I feel like.
Yeah.
And if it is, I'm scared for the women you kind of like encountered on the dating scene at that time, because it sounded like you were playing more than hard to get.
Yeah, I would call it modern autofiction, right? So it's definitely autofictional. I think all fiction is kind of like inspired by things that actually happened. Of course, like you employ hyperbole, you employ metaphor to like make it more entertaining. You have to look at what you think stinks about you, the things that you think about yourself that are negative, and why, you know, you approach love with like a conditional wall. And once I met my wife, she was one of the first people I met that I just felt like she liked me for me. She had never seen Fresh Out the Boat. She had never been to Bauhaus. She never watched Wong's World. Couldn't care less. Just because she likes to get to know people from where she meets them, you know?
Mhm.
And there's a big thing too that we both related to early on. People are always like, what would be your dream dinner party? Like, who would you invite? And I'm always just like, that seems like a nightmare to sit with people I admire where I
Yeah.
have significantly more information about them than they do about me. I'm like, I'm single white femaling them,
Oh,
you know?
that's
That's a
that's
really
that's
good point.
actually our
That is
job.
a
You were
very good
describing
point.
our work. What are you talking about a good point? That's what we do. What are you talking about? Okay. But continue.
Yeah, and my wife, I just have to credit her. She's very much about like intimacy, um, with a high level of authenticity. She's literally allergic to inauthentic intimacy. And I think she could see in me what I was doing. It was comical to her. It was very easy for her to like not even kick down walls. She like flicked them down.
Can I ask you something real quick? Because when you did your first book, it was a relationship that was an inflection point that sent you literally kind of going to China to understand your heritage and understand your place as what now we would call a third culture kid, right? Like somebody who is diaspora related, still very much of their culture, but of whatever the Western US version is. And I think that there's a habit sometimes of saying, like, my immigrant parents did a thing this way and that's made me who I am. Like I have immigrant parents. So I'm saying this from experience where you're like, you just don't understand. I'm yelling at you cuz blah blah blah. And divorce figuring out like what is my air quotes culture? How does that affect how I relate to the world? And at what point do I have to just like own up to things that I'm doing? It's
Mm.
like really hard to tease all that apart.
This is huge. This is one of the biggest reasons I wrote Come Undone is to get under the hood and for American immigrants, second generation immigrants like myself, without writing it as a memoir and being like, these are the things
Yeah.
happening in immigrant families, because then it becomes so weaponized and political. I needed to write fiction. I needed to write a
Hmm.
novel, but I wanted to exactly address what you are talking about here, which is that, in America, we have the privilege and time to do things like therapy. Um,
Yeah.
a lot of our parents from immigrant countries, their minds are in a survival mode default. And one of the things after Fresh Off the Boat was that I had a lot of issues in my family. I grew up with a lot of violence. My dad, you know, was the one committing a lot of the violent acts in the home, against my mom, against me, against my brothers. And after Fresh Off the Boat, when my family became very celebrated and,
Mm.
Asian Americans were very celebrated, I spoke up many times in the making of that show saying, I think we need to examine two things specifically. One was like my relationship and the Eddie character's relationship to Black culture, because the show really played it for laughs. And for me, it was not for laughs. It wasn't funny. It was literally the inspiration and watching the way, Black people fought through the civil rights movements, through just individuals like Charles Barkley speaking up about like how he felt. It inspired me to feel like I was allowed.
Hmm.
Watching, Black leaders made me feel enabled to express my point of view in my family. Second was violence. There's a lot of violence in my family. It's laid out and Fresh Off the Boat, but it was completely ignored in the making of the show.
Right.
So
Especially
after,
since they're trying to promote like a model minority type thing, right? So that doesn't fit. All those things that don't fit get pushed out of the frame.
yes, and it was pushed out of the frame by the studios, but also by Asian Americans themselves who wanted to perpetuate the model minority stereotype. Because a lot of Asian Americans think that it's a positive thing. But I
Hmm.
said, even if you think it's positive, it's not true, it's not authentic, and you're not seen as a whole human being. And anytime you allow your identity to be fractured or bifurcated, you're shortchanging yourself. You're playing a role for dominant culture.
So I'm really curious when I totally hear you when you say telling immigrant stories can be weaponized and it can be politicized. You've said, at my core, I'm a product of America. And saying that in a Obama era United States or in a Black Lives Matter moment is very different from saying it in 2026. And so if you are out here making movies on TV with a book, with restaurants, presenting this very public face as at your core a product of America, what does saying that today mean to you?
Well, to me, I'm glad you bring this up. To me, the reason I relate to America is because I do still think it's the greatest experiment going in the world. For most of us here, we're participating in a multicultural, um, ideological experiment. We're different. We come from different places. We have different ideas, and we're supposed to be here conversating, debating, and justice is supposed to be reached through an adversarial system, right? Um, do I think that the adversarial nature of it could be stripped out a bit more? Yes. If I were to reorganize society, I do think like not making it so adversarial would be productive. But I do think it's the best social experiment going, and I am a product of that social experiment. Um, I am a Taiwanese, Chinese, second generation or first generation immigrant. That affects who I am. Um, but I don't think it's as big of a factor as America.
I'm also curious, you talk about wanting to avoid the model minority myth, and you've been very clear and consistent about that also while dominating in Hollywood and publishing and restaurants, and you've got a Substack and you've got a
Well,
podcast
can I
and
say
you're a
something?
parent.
I
Yeah.
don't want to use the word dominating, not because I don't think your career is going great, but because it just feels like you found this niche where you have become a version of you that is probably more familiar to yourself. And I can't tell if that's because of the way the internet works right now. I don't know if that's just because you feel more confident in your ability to advocate for yourself after going through the network TV thing. Like, yeah, like how have you found your lane?
Yeah, I will explain. This is awesome. I'm so glad we're talking about this. Post Fresh Off the Boat, there were cracks in my understanding and beliefs about my identity. And when I saw the responses where people wanted to hang on to the model minority stuff, I was like, this is interesting. I'm I'm not in line with the fans of the thing I created. I need to examine this. I went to China. I felt a bit more at home in China the months I was there writing Double Cup Love, but I also was aware I'm definitely not like Chinese, like born in China Chinese. I need to not fetishize that and fantasize that. Let me keep thinking. I started boxing a lot because I do think there is a physical mind in your body. And through boxing, I had a coach that said something to me. He said, Eddie, you react. You're always reacting. If I throw a punch, you
Mm.
react and you immediately, without thinking, throw this back or you go. And he's like, it's been very helpful to you. You have very good instincts, but I would challenge you to stop reacting and respond. And that boxing
Whoa.
coach put the seed in my head. I had no idea where that seed would grow, but
Can
that
you
is
just
where it
explain
came
to us
from.
the difference between reacting and responding?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like if someone throws a punch at you and you react by going, now your defenses are wide open, your arms are up, they can hit you wherever you want. Now, if you get used to seeing punches and stay centered when a punch comes, you'll learn to slip and then you respond. Now, boxing was my way to exercise those feelings, control it in a disciplined and positive manner.
I forget who told me this. Maybe I heard it in college, but there was a person who said to me that people raised on survival can't understand people who are raised on love
Hmm.
and vice versa. And I couldn't unhear that. And it made me way more forgiving of the people I encountered who reacted instead of responding.
Hmm.
It made, I don't know about you, but sometimes, like with my own kids now, I'm like, oh, they're going to be raised on love. Like I was raised in a different economic class. Like I had different battles. They felt like battles. And these kids, they're just, you know what I mean? Like they're the kids, upward mobility. This is the price. You have these kids that you think are going to be soft. And I know that sounds insane, but I think the part of me that still has the survival instinct is now like, oh, wait a second, what do I do? You know what I mean? Like, how do I make people who can be successful if my route to success was like clawing my way there? But it's like I really wrestle with it.
No, it's like you were talking about Hubie in the novel. Hubie doesn't know how to receive love. When the women in the novel are expressing, I would like to be in a relationship with you, he's like, are you crazy?
Right.
What are you thinking? You don't want to be in a relationship with me. He doesn't feel like he deserves to be loved. Um,
But
people,
now you're raising a kid, and are you experiencing the same thing Audie's describing of like, oh, I was raised in this way, and I've got to raise a kid in a different way that I wasn't modeled?
yes, absolutely. When I met my wife, I made a deliberate choice, to receive her love, to try and understand it. It took many years, but once we had our son Senna, the whole lesson came together. Because when my son came out, it was pure, unadulterated love and joy. I had nothing but love for this kid, and he deserved it, and I deserved it, and I didn't question it anymore. And
Yeah, but you're talking about the good part. I'm talking about later on when
yeah,
when they're a little bit older and you go to discipline them, for example. Like I sometimes am over.
Maybe he's not there yet.
Oh yeah, but how old is your kid? Ballpark.
he's 2 months from being 3, so 2 years,
Oh,
10
you're
months.
you're
Yeah,
still in the sweetie pie era.
yeah, yeah,
Later
yeah, yeah.
on,
I'm
when
still
they are
healing.
making, yeah, you're still healing. I want you to embrace that time, Eddie. Just
Yeah,
It
let
won't last forever.
yourself enjoy that time because when they start talking back, that's when you want to get back to a place
yeah.
where you're just like, I'm not one of your little friends.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't. My kid is young. We have things where I explain. I think explaining the reason why there's a rule or a boundary
Yeah.
is very helpful. And, whether it's a child or it's the cooks I work with in the kitchen, I think understanding point of view and explaining to people why things need to be done a certain way, that usually resolves the issue. It's very difficult in the moment, especially in the kitchen.
I love that you went to the kitchen for that because that's such a great example where discipline
Yeah.
and the yes chef culture and the bullying even of culture of chefing of the last, 10 years has been so questioned.
Yeah, no, vibes have changed a lot. When people get hot and aggravated, there is a clear consensus in the kitchen that it's not positive to yell anymore. It's not positive to like throw your spoon across the kitchen. It'll still happen with certain individuals in the kitchen, like it's inevitable perhaps, but we know it's wrong now, and like everyone will step outside. You'll take a moment. We're lucky we're next to Tompkins Park. There's a frequent thing that we will do is, all right, if two individuals are hot, walk to the park. Go sit on
Wow,
the
that's
bench.
like a real thing in the restaurant where you wow.
Time out. They
Yeah,
have time out.
you just need time because otherwise, I mean, we are all squished in like a 30 square foot area with fire and knives. So it's tough. You can understand when people get hot and say something they didn't mean, do something they didn't mean. Just, go to the park. Walk to the park right now. Go have a cigarette. Like we do a lot of that. It's important.
Eddie, one of the things that I've loved about following you over the years is seeing your takes on everything from sports to culture to food to music to you always have something smart to say about almost anything.
Takes on takes.
Takes on takes. And so we have designed a game to give you the opportunity to share some of those with us. Are you
I'm
down
flattered.
to play it?
I'm flattered.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Audie, you want to explain the rules?
Okay, the rule this is a game we call Take or Tea. And one of us has a hat full of takes.
I've
that
got
we,
the takes.
We want you to confirm or deny.
Give us your hot take on.
Your hot take on. And then I have the tea hat. And this is something that might be a little more revealing.
Like spill the tea.
Yeah,
Oh,
about
I
yourself.
like this.
You have to choose take or tea. We can do a few rounds. If you choose a take, I'll offer something for you to give us your take on. If you choose a tea, it's over to Audie.
I like it. This is
All right, where do you want to
This is
begin?
good.
Take or tea?
Let's go take. Let's go take.
Okay, take. All right. Are viral food trends ever worth the hype? For example, caviar bumps, dot cakes, salted brown butter oat latte, or just a few weeks ago, we talked about froyo
Froyo.
lines. Are viral foods ever worth the hype?
No, I don't think it's possible. I don't think it ever lives up to the hype. And I feel like once there is the hype and this whole thing going on, it literally hollows out the thing. So, no.
I feel like Froyo lines are a marketing scam. He has a long history of
I have childhood associations with
childhood
Froyo, yeah, yeah.
associations. I less so. I'm from New England, and I want to know your stance on Froyo culture.
Look, froyo to me is funny. It's not like artisanal. It's not something you should line up for. Like I was a TCBY kid. I like
Yes,
TCBY.
thank you.
You
Thank you.
go
Okay,
because it's
okay.
next to Blockbuster. But even
Yeah.
as a kid, I
You're
never would
speaking my
choose it
language.
over Friendlies. Like I'd prefer ice
Friendlies,
cream.
hey!
She's the ice cream one of the duo.
I
Yes!
prefer ice
All right.
cream.
Take her
Thank
tea.
you.
Take her
Yeah.
tea.
No,
What's
let's
next?
have a pause for when I'm right and when a highly acclaimed chef tells
I think
me
he agreed
I'm
with
right.
both of us. He
that
was like,
ice cream
yes,
is
Ari,
greater
TCBY.
than
Yes, Ari,
Froyo.
Friendlies. You're really doing a good job here of straddling
her
the two.
tea, Eddie. Take her
her tea,
tea.
Eddie.
Okay. Oh my
Let's
goodness.
go. Let's go. Let's go.
Take. What have we got? Oh, true or false? Grudges are as vital to success as friendships. That's a quote from Mary H.K. Choi in Subway Takes. Do you agree grudges are as vital to success as friendships?
No, I love Mary, but I disagree.
Really?
I
Okay.
disagree. Like even Mary and I have had moments where we didn't agree or were maybe beefing and weren't friends and weren't talking. And I don't think it's helpful. I much prefer being friends with Mary. You know,
But did the grudge help build the friendship? Like, is it the building? Is it a stepping stone to true friendship when you
Or
disagree and then
success.
come back
The
together?
quote says to success.
Yeah.
And I feel like having enemies can be a really helpful motivator.
You do?
I do.
You always say envy is the thief of joy.
Also true.
Okay.
I mean, two things can
Wait, there's a person we're actually interviewing
right,
at the
sorry.
party. Yeah.
no, it's cool. No, I really don't. I think that is maybe you can make the argument and create a logical theorem that this grudge drove you to be more monetarily or like powerfully successful than somebody else. But like, I don't see that as success.
I think you're more evolved than I am.
He is actually.
Yeah, clearly.
Would old Eddie have said this? Would 2016
good
Eddie have said
question.
this?
Oh
Vibes
no,
Eddie?
I used to give Mary terrible advice, like be a pirate. You know what I mean? Like, get in, get out. That's the OG's classic. Like I remember I would always give her like pirate business advice, and she was like, "What are you talking about?" But no, I'm at a different place. I
Yeah.
don't think grudges help. Like I've been competitive for many points of my life, and when it comes up now, I just like stop. I'm like, you might just be jealous, bro.
You might just be jealous, bro.
Woo, that
Words
part,
to live by.
That part.
All right. Should we do one more?
her
Take her
tea.
tea.
This is really a fun show. You guys, this
Thank
is
you so
Really?
much.
Be
Oh
viral,
my
yes.
God.
Yeah. Because it's like Subway Takes, but vulnerable.
Oh,
You know, I think
Oh,
it's,
Subway Takes but vulnerable. Can we save that, please?
yeah, it's good.
Okay, take her tea.
Tea. No, take. I'd go take. I'd go take.
All right. Okay. Keep or pass. Astrology. Ooh, I have strong feelings
whole
about
keep.
this.
thing?
This is absolutely keep. I'm an astrology freak. I don't do anything.
You are?
Yeah, I don't do anything
What are your
without consulting.
signs?
My big three is Pisces, Sun, Taurus, Moon, Gemini rising.
When you say you don't do anything without consulting, do you mean you've got a person?
I have multiple persons. I got multiple persons. I gotta talk to all
Wait a
of them.
second. What?
Yeah.
I mean, clearly it's working for you, so maybe I'm missing out. I don't
Yeah.
even know what my non-main signs. Like I'm a Libra. That's the extent of my astrology knowledge. I always say I'm good at holding two contradictory ideas in my head at once. After all, I'm a Libra and I don't believe in astrology. So that's as far as it goes for me. I think
Libra's fun.
if it's
Libra's life of the
useful,
party.
if it's useful, like tarot is useful, like Talmud is useful, like whatever system for interpreting life is useful to you, knock yourself
I
out.
think
More
some
power
people
to you.
would
But
quibble with those being in the same column, but I hear you. So
what about you, Audie?
I mean, I'm into astrology. I like it. I like it as a personality test, world's oldest personality test. I think that's a great way of thinking
What are
about
yours?
it. I'm a Libra,
Yes.
something rising, Taurus rising, or something
See, you
like
don't
that.
even know. You don't even know.
Wow, you are way too enthusiastic about that. How are we both Libras?
Yeah,
Like, how are
that's-
you
that's
even
funny.
related
very
to me?
clearly, we're both
How-
journalists. Look,
No,
I am the
but
quintessential
you're,
Libra.
like,
Even though I don't
Libra
believe in
annoying
it,
rising,
I'm the
okay?
like middle child making peace
He
in the
is the middle
family.
child.
I am the journalist
And I
seeing
am
both
a
sides of every
firstborn
story.
immigrant daughter, okay? And that song in Encanto, Surface Pressure, was written about me and many other firstborn immigrant
are-
daughters. Look it up.
Eddie, you said you're a Gemini. How are you? How
I'm
does
a
that
Gemini
manifest?
rising. So, but it makes
pardon
sense.
me.
A Libra co-worker situation is kind of fantastic. because Libra's kind of justice, it's the scales. Justice
Yeah.
kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
drives both of you, but then also there's a willingness to compromise and there's a desire to fit in.
Where does your sign show up in your life?
Oh, I'm a like moody sad boy Pisces at heart, but then like Taurus, I like, you know, present as a tough guy, and then
Yeah, you
in social
do.
settings, I'm like funny and energetic, but then I just go home and lay on my bed and like think bad thoughts about myself.
People call this book like sad boy lit. Did this fall under the sad boy vibes of summer?
Absolutely,
Compliment
absolutely.
or not a compliment? Take or tea.
I think it's more it's revealing more than anything. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
there. I think there's a lot of sad boys out there.
Should we do one last one?
Yeah, but it's a tea. We want to be revealing.
Okay.
Here we go.
Here's a T.
This is a good one. Worst dating advice you've ever received or given? Not a good sign when you cover your face immediately.
I had a friend who probably it's partially advice, but was also criticism. And he decided to say to me one day, "You go on a lot of dates with these girls without having sex. What are you doing?" And I thought it was like the worst observation ever. The difference between myself and the Hubie characters, I would go on dates to get to know people, but I wouldn't necessarily transact, so to speak. And this friend was like, "You need to be transacting." And I thought it was some of the worst advice I ever received. And I don't talk to this guy anymore.
I gave some terrible dating advice.
You gave?
I gave. I was. I thought I was like speaking truth to a friend, but it was not the right thing to say. I basically said to him, "Look, if you've lived in DC for as long as you have, and you have still never had a boyfriend, that's not because there aren't boyfriend material people out here. I think it has more to do with you than it does with them." Which might have been technically
With friends
accurately
like
true,
these, yeah.
but probably was not a thing I should have said.
Damn.
Yeah.
Why'd you do that?
I thought I was like speaking truth to friends. It was not a
I
thing that
kind of
anyone
like
needed to
that
hear.
though. I'll be honest. Sometimes, like a person like me, sometimes needs to hear stuff like that.
Yeah. As I'm a woman who has a lot of male friends, so I think I spent most of my 20s in the position of the advice because I was like the woman they could talk to, right? I'm the woman they're not sleeping with. I'm not related to them. I'm not their mom. The judgment doesn't rain down.
So you
and
got
such
all
and
the tea.
I heard every iteration and still do in some cases. And it really drove home to me as an adult, like men really, there's a lot of straight men out there that really don't have relationships with women. Like just
You
every
mean they just don't know
day,
how to interact?
casual.
Yeah.
And I think about this now because I have two boys where I'm like, how can I make it so that encountering a woman isn't encountering another species? Like,
So what? So what is the worst advice?
that I've given?
Or I mean, you didn't receive because you got married when you were a
Yeah, and I also
child.
didn't trust any of my man friends to give me
Yeah.
advice. I was like, y'all don't know
What's
shit.
the worst
What's the-
advice you've
yeah,
given?
Yeah. Or what's the worst advice you've heard a man give another
Or
man?
heard him? Yes.
Oh, it's all versions of wife material versus not wife material. They all have different euphemisms for it. But watching in real time a man sort in his head a woman who is worthy of emotional exploration and a woman who is really to be used for sex is shocking, especially when they're a guy you know. Like it really messes with you because you're like, oh, like they're doing this sorting all the time.
Like you're actually a dirtbag, and I thought you were a friend.
I mean, I have on occasion said, are you the villain in this story? Because I'm always going to back you, but I like
That is a good line.
at a certain point,
Yeah.
I'm starting to think you're not the hero of this story that you're telling me. And that has always been a moment for pause.
That's good.
Eddie, I'm really glad we got to play this game with you, if for no other reason because it lets Audie and I take home CNN baseball caps. that are gonna-
Can we send you a CNN
Oh, I would love. I would love.
Okay.
Can we just send
Thank
it
you.
to your restaurant? We'll have it addressed to
Yes.
you at your restaurant.
I actually
love
just
it.
want to go to the restaurant.
same.
Which
Next
where
time
can
we're in New
people
York.
find you? I feel like you're cooking in multiple places. Tell us what all the places people can find
Yeah.
you. Cooking behind a pen, like behind
Yeah.
the book cover. Give us the list.
No, I'm busy now. So the only place I cook is 97 St. Mark Street at Bauhaus. So I'm there pretty much every day. I write on Canal Street Dreams on Substack. I have Canal Street Dreams, a podcast with my wife, and Come Undone the novel. So
Amazing.
Is that all?
Amazing. I'm going to listen to this pod. I'm interested.
Eddie,
Yeah.
it's so great to talk to you, and congratulations on all your success. Thanks for joining
Thank
Engagement
you.
Party.
We
thank you so
appreciate
much.
What a great conversation.
I really enjoyed that.
He was amazing.
Shall we put our screens away and touch grass?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it. What have you got?
We were in New Bedford, and New Bedford
Massachusetts.
is Massachusetts. It is a sort of old whaling community and shipping community. At one point, it was the wealthiest city in the United States, and they have this incredible museum called the New Bedford Whaling Museum, which sounds really boring, but it is not. First of all, giant whale skeletons, which
Cool.
kids love.
Yeah.
And second, it was the kind of dominant technology of the 1820s, 1830s.
Like lamps burning whale oil kind of thing?
Yes, before we struck oil, right, and got into oil refinery, we were using whale oil.
I don't always love a niche museum, but when they're done well, a museum that goes
So
deep on one
well.
specific thing
This
can
is
be
why
great.
I'm obsessed. This museum was done so well. It had so much great history. It had replicas. It had all the like tools and material. It even had do you know what scrimshaw is?
Absolutely. I know the word, but I actually don't know what it means.
Scrimshaw is when you like carve designs into whalebone. And this
Whoa.
became this industry. And women's corsets from the time
Yeah.
had
A
like
whalebone corset. I've heard that.
Yes, exactly. Like boning in the corsets. Anyway,
Wait,
it was,
is that where the word boning comes
I
from?
think so. Anyway, the point is, it was one of those museums where you learn so much.
Cool.
Like going to the head is like, learning the ropes. There's all this
Wait, do you mean the
language.
head, like the bathroom?
The
That
bathroom.
comes from the whaling
Yes,
industry?
because you would go to
Learning
the
the
head
ropes.
of the ship.
Mind
there
blown.
were so many weird getting docked for pay is a shipping thing. Like there's so much weird history that we still live with. And yeah, an unexpectedly great museum is the best afternoon you can have.
Amazing. Okay, my touch grass is something that I know you're going to make fun of me for, but it is a gift for you. So,
What?
yeah.
Why am I so mean? I'm gonna make fun of a gift.
Well, because it's an unhinged thing that I do in the garden.
Okay, go on.
Are you ready?
Yes.
I have a pear tree. In April, when they're teeny tiny pears, I put glass bottles over the branches so that the pears can grow in the bottle. And in July,
gonna
when the
give me
pears
a
are full
bottled
size,
pear?
I pull the bottle off the tree and fill it with pear brandy from Clear Creek Distillery in my hometown of Portland, Oregon.
What?
This is a pear in a bottle grown on my pear tree full of pear brandy that is quite delicious.
But for the
And-
record, you didn't make the brandy.
no, I didn't make the
So
brandy.
he's not perfect.
But as you drink it, you just keep refilling it, and this will last you literally 100 years. If you just keep refilling, the pear will never die.
I feel like this is something someone would have appreciated during the whaling industries.
Yeah, actually.
this is-
Well, no, apparently in France, like going back to the 1500s,
I believe it.
they grew pears in bottles.
I believe
so,
it. Oh my God.
I hope you enjoy that.
You are such a weirdo. Like,
Yeah,
I love it. I love it, but it's also like,
As
why?
predicted. As
Why can't you
predicted.
have normal hobbies? Can't you just have an Xbox or something like everyone else?
See you
Okay,
next
I'll
week,
take
Gaudi.
it. See you next week.
Thanks.
Yay.